Hi guys, Dan and Calcifers here.
Hello.
Got a quick deck profile for you. I'll leave Calcifer to deal with it because it's his thing.
Yo. Yeah, this is going to be a deck profile for the specific for the Gold Paladins, specifically Ezel.
If you couldn't tell from the sleeves.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell from the sleeves, I've had these sleeves for years. Anyway, so my starter, I'm gonna stand him up, is the Aquamarine line. I think it's actually possibly the best starter for Ezel. I know a lot of people will go on about how the search, look at the top 5, search for one, the Kiara, is it? Something like that. Everyone will rave about that one, but honestly, this guy for aggressive pressure is so silly with the new grade 2. Grade 2 Ezel. It's so silly. Anyway, on with the rest of the deck. For the rest of the grade 0s, I've got 4 Jerry, the stand trigger, which is ridiculous. 4 heals, obviously. 3 copies of Flame of Victory, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other triggers. So I run 8 crit, 4 stand, 4 heal. The reason I run a bunch of different triggers is to throw my opponent off their count, because a lot of players, what they'll do is they'll count the card to see how many copies of it have been seen rather than count the actual triggers. So if they see like one of those show up, one of those show up, one of those show up, then they've got an idea that they can't quite work out the ratio because it's all different cards. However, you can easily get around it by just counting the trigger rather than the card, but it's just a little something to throw my opponent off their game.
It's also about they can't predict.
Attempt to anyway.
They can't predict how many of each trigger you have as well.
Precisely.
Why only 3 of the air mode crit?
Because it's the Flame of Victory.
Victory even, sorry, it looks like air mode from Kagura. Sorry.
Yeah. It kind of does actually. Only 3 of these because again I wanted another space for a different trigger, and I just don't really use it that often. It is useful to put into Soul if I need Soul for effects, but because this isn't the Gurgwit build, Soul isn't mandatory. The only stuff I need Soul for is Grand Ezel, and I don't really need that.
Fair enough.
I've got plenty of other ways to get my Soul up. So grade 1s, I got 4 copies of the Stride Enabler, 4 copies of the Lion Beast Howl from the latest set, which this card I absolutely love. 4 Perfect Guards, and then 2 copies of the Limit Break Remover. In case you hadn't worked it out by now, in my decks I like to stick to 14 grade 1s, 12 grade 2s, and 8 grade 3s. It's just a sort of it's a ratio that sits well with me. Obviously it's personal preference and depending on the deck, but 14, 12, 8 sits well with me. So, is it 14, 11, 8? It's 14, 11, 8, sorry. My bad. 14, 14, 11, 8. Not much to explain about that. Unflipping PGs aren't as necessary in this build, but there's nothing better. There's no other, Unite alternatives yet or anything silly like that, so you might as well just run the Unflippers. Obviously these counter charge 1, soul charge 1 on call. Such good fuel for the deck, so good. Stride's a thing, obviously, and these guys are great for going early game aggression, or just keeping your damage down, like in every deck that runs limit breakers. Grade 2 lineup of 4 Badge Magus, 3 Mauritia, and 4 Wonder Ezel. They released a grade 2 Ezel. I'm sorry, I'm done. That's the only reason I need to run this card. It could be absolute crap, but it's a grade 2 Ezel. So that, with that, is silly. especially if you have a couple of these in your hand, your grade 2 game's going to be ridiculous. And these are just brilliant for install countercharge. It basically makes the deck very countercharge light. Not that the Ezel build's countercharge heavy in the first place, but I find myself... Well, actually, no, I haven't found myself at all in a situation where I've not been able to counterblast.
Fair enough, fair enough.
As for grade 3s, I run 3 copies of Grand Ezel, because I only own 3. 3 copies of Platina, and 1 copy of Blonde, with a teched copy of Dorngal. As soon as... well, you will have probably seen the Raven-haired Ezel Japanese promo. As soon as that hits English shores, these guys are coming out. I'm going to pick up a 4th one of him and run 1 Ravenhair. Because that card is just so silly. Especially when used with the grade 2 Ezel. Because it's kind of like a reverse break ride. So you've got any of your Ezels on Vanguard, okay. Wonder Ezel. Superior ride from deck. Okay. Plus 5,000. Okay. Oh, what's that against 10k and you can't call grade 0s? No, you can't call grade 1s? Because it is stupid. It is really stupid. And as soon as that hits English shores, I will be absolutely in my element. Anyway, enough messing about. So yeah, that's the main deck. It's pretty straightforward, the lineup. I don't think there's much other variation. I mean, I know there's a load of Ezel support, but these days I think this possibly the best build you could get. I mean, obviously, put in the comment section below what you think, what other suggestions, what you run, in case I am missing something. But for the G-Zone, I use 5 G-Guardians, 3 Sleemy, 1 Dismal, 1 Screw. I like to go for the 5. I know you can only really use 4, and especially as this deck doesn't have a way to recycle its heal triggers, that you can definitely only use 4. But it just gives me options that way. I mean, I might not be able to use Sleemy every time. I might want to protect one of my rear guards. I might need extra guard.
D-robes are a thing.
They are a big thing.
And I was going to say Griffin, but you can't use G-Guardians your opponents in your turn.
Yeah. Anyway, I run a copy of Blizzard and Seabreeze. Standard staples. This, I'm not seeing it played as much anymore because I think the initial hype of Seabreeze is gone. People are more expecting it to be in the other player's extra deck, but not as many people are following up with it actually being in there.
The only reason Seabreeze is any good is for GB-based decks. You can get that GB1 even if your opponent doesn't ride to grade 3.
That part is good, yeah.
That's the main thing. I mean, yeah, if they're grade 2ing and you don't not GB, yeah, you get that extra.
But if you're worried about that, then just take a couple of the copies of the Air Elemental Twitter run, is it? The grade 1 7k that you pay the cost, and when you do, you put the card itself face up in the G zone, and it counts as a face up G unit until your opponent goes to grade 3.
Yeah,
or until you're
What would you take out of your deck for Twitter and then?
I wouldn't.
Exactly.
Because I wouldn't need to. That's the thing. With Ezel, it's Ezel. I can run on limit break. I do not give a damn about GB. In fact,
that's the thing. If you had a GB deck.
But if I had a GB deck, I wouldn't anyway. I would just roll with it.
Exactly. So that's why they're on Breeze.
Either way.
If you've got the space for it, run it in the thing.
It doesn't matter either way. It's Blizzard. I've been supporting this card ever since I got back into the game, and I've been championing it.
Yes, well done.
Even more so lately with a 16 card extra deck. You can hit over 100,000 with this card. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I'm just a bit of a Blizzard fanboy.
No comment.
Yeah, I got 1 copy of Campbell, Abericus, and Rising Shine. At the moment, this part of the G zone's a bit experimental. I mean, I could put a Gurguit in here, but the Gurgwit I have, I will admit, I'm currently trying to sell to get funds together for the set 8 support for Genesis as my main clan, and the gold stuff that's coming out as well, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be some, well, I'm hoping there's going to be some Ezel or something that is going to work in a whole
Raven
lot.
hair in set 8.
Oh, don't, honestly. If it is, then... this is actually a really good card, I feel. For you, first turn stride, it's beautiful, because it gives great on-hit pressure, so they either drop loads of cards early, or they let the hit through, and you get a couple Spirit Calls off, and you get to flip up, so you're at GB2. So, I mean, at the moment for golds, GB2 doesn't really matter. I mean, it does in the Gurgwit build, but in this, it doesn't really matter at all. However, you know, should there be GB2 or more GB2 stuff in the future, then that would be great. So yeah, they're just for filler at the moment until I decide what to do. I've got 2 copies of Spearcross. Could go 4 copies, but like, I just haven't found a reason to justify 4 copies of Spearcross, because you can only, the stuff you call from it only comes out to open rearguard circles. So if you've already got a half full field, Counterblast 2 and flip a copy isn't worth calling just 2 cards. You know, I can Counterblast 1 and flip a copy to call 2 cards with Rising Shine. So I think you should only run 2 of Spearcross, because...
Why are you running 2 Spearcross over more of Rising Shine then?
Because Rising Shine's on hit. Spearcross is an act skill.
Okay. Fair enough.
Otherwise I would only run Rising Shine, and Spearcross would be null and void. It also requires a Persona flip, so...
okay. So you need 2 then minimum.
And that's the other thing with Rising Shine, you can flip anything you want. So you can flip that Sea Breeze you didn't use, you can flip anything. And lastly is obviously the main beauty of the deck, the 4 Mithril Ezel. You're running an Ezel build, you run this, there's nothing else to it. If you do not, then you either need to pick some up because you don't have them, or you're silly. Very silly. Yeah, this deck, I love the playstyle. It is me down to a T. However, I'm not happy with the build at the moment. There's just it seems like there's something missing. I think it just needs that little bit more support, a little bit more of a push. Maybe Ravenhead, as I was saying. Maybe when we get that, the build will be ridiculous. But who knows? Anyway, if you've got any suggestions or any anything you want to add, then comment below and let's get a discussion going. It's been Ezel. Peace.